Hey church, welcome back to another Live at 5. Thanks for tuning in with us again tonight as we finish out chapter 1 of the book of Titus. If you missed last night, I want to encourage you to go back and check that out. We take a look at the first 4 verses and kind of give a contextual background as to what's going on, who Titus is, what's going on with the island of Crete and the church there. So again, if you missed that, go check that out. It'll give you a background for what we study the rest of this week. But tonight, I want to look at the rest of chapter 1, verses 5 through 16. And as we get into that section of Scripture, we'll notice that what Paul does is he lays out for Titus some tasks, some things that he wants him to do as he begins his work with the church here on the island of Crete. And the first thing that Paul tasks Titus with doing is finding godly men to be leaders of the church. We notice in verse 6, it says, he must be blameless. He must be faithful to his wife and children. He must believe in the scriptures and have a good reputation. He must not be arrogant or quick-tempered or violent. He must invest in the word and spend time there. So the first thing Paul says is, Titus, you need to go find these men that meet these qualifications and appoint them as the leaders of your church. And then through the rest of this section, we understand why that is so important for Titus to do. And we see it right away in verse 10. For there are many rebellious people who engage in useless talk and deceive others. This is especially true of those who insist on circumcision for salvation. What is being taught on the island of Crete, and to be honest, what we see being taught in the church today is what we reference at Federated as that Jesus plus mentality. That I have to somehow have a say in my salvation. And this false teaching takes away directly from justification by faith, that we are saved by grace, right? We see it in our church today, that like Jesus plus making sure I have good church attendance, or Jesus plus making sure I give enough offering, or Jesus plus doing good works, or Jesus plus not mowing my lawn on Sunday, right? That we try and add something to the redeeming work of Jesus. And we see that here in Titus chapter 1 with this idea of circumcision, the keeping of the Old Testament law. Well, Jesus said, I have come to fulfill that law. That law is not required anymore for your salvation. Paul talks about it in Ephesians chapter 2. He says salvation is a gift, not because of anything that we have done, so that none of us can boast, right? So Paul tells Titus, you need to find some good, godly leaders that will lead your church to stand up against this false teaching. But notice this part also, verse 11. They must be silenced because they are turning whole families away from the truth by their false teaching, and they do it only for money. Now tell me where we see that today, right? This false teaching of Jesus wants you to be rich, or Jesus wants you to have everything you could have ever wanted. It's this prosperity gospel that we see everywhere in our church today, right? Led by these guys with fake smiles and perma hair who fly around on private jets and drive cars worth more money than my home. And I don't know about you, but there is nothing in here that I've ever read that says if I give my life to Christ, I'm going to be filthy rich and it is going to be a cakewalk on easy street. Paul warns Titus about these false teachers and thus tasks him with appointing godly men to lead the church. But as we wrap up, I want to jump all the way down to verses 15 and 16. How do we know? How do we know a good godly leader? How do we know and how are we able to differentiate between someone who is preaching truth and someone who is twisting or distorting the gospel for their personal gain? Notice 15 and 16. Everything is pure to those whose hearts are pure, but nothing is pure to those who are corrupt and unbelieving, because their minds and conscience are corrupt. Catch this. Such people claim they know God, but they deny him by the way they live. They are detestable and disobedient, worthless for doing anything good. Church, what it boils down to is, does the walk match the talk? Does the walk match the talk? We can say whatever we want. We can talk a good game. We can have the Sunday school answers and say what people want to hear. But does the life lived on the outside match what is being said? You know, whatever is going on in our hearts is going to manifest itself in the way that we live. And so the same way that Paul gives guidance and clarification for Titus here as he appoints church leaders is the same guidance that we can use in our own lives as well. If we want to know truth, does it align with the scriptures? And is the life of the person teaching it matching what they are saying? Church, we are blessed here at Federated. We are blessed to have a team of elders and pastors, senior pastors that lead this church and are dedicated to the truth. Don't take that for granted. But as you seek to grow, as you seek to dive into the Word and learn more, understand we are saved by grace, not because of anything that we could ever do, but it is a gift of God given to us through His Son, Jesus Christ. Thanks for tuning in with us again tonight. Look forward to tomorrow night as we jump into chapter 2. Thanks.